Hello.
Hello, sir.
Hi. Um, okay. So today we'll continue our discussion of thermochemistry, and I hope to finish the chapter today. So
Okay.
last week we were discussing the enthalpy and all. No, enthalpy. What is the meaning, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So I had asked you, I think, to read till 8.11 and all.
yeah.
We had reached some portion, and I asked you to read a few sections. So
Mm.
basically, enthalpy of a reaction in the standard state, right? So the
Yeah.
standard enthalpy of a reaction is the amount of heat released or absorbed in the reaction. Released or absorbed in the reaction when
Mm.
all the reactants are in their standard states,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
When all reactants are at standard state. So basically most stable state at 1 atm pressure and 298 Kelvin, right?
Yeah.
298 Kelvin. So this is the basic meaning of enthalpy, heat released or absorbed in the reaction. Now this could be positive or could be negative. Positive is a endothermic reaction, it absorbs heat,
Yeah.
and negative is an exothermic reaction, right? Now this enthalpy or standard enthalpy change for a reaction can be measured in two ways, and that is what you learn in the 8.10, 11, and so on, these sections, right? One way is standard heat of formation, and the other way is bond dissociation energy. And the other method is bond dissociation energies. Bond dissociation energies. So both of these ways give us the same answer. We are looking for the overall heat of a reaction and all, and we can approach it in two different ways, getting that answer.
Mm.
So let's discuss what happens. So suppose you have A plus B gives C plus D, right? If you think of it from the standard heat of formation method, what you're doing is basically you're saying enthalpy of the reaction is equal to heat of formation of products minus heat of formation of reactants. Okay,
Yeah.
minus heat of formation of reactants. Why is this relationship correct? Why does it seem natural and correct? Because uh, what is a heat of formation? Can someone tell me heat of formation? What is the meaning?
So, yeah, like feet.
What is heat of formation of HCl, for example?
The overall energy that's released or absorbed when the compound is formed.
Overall energy released or absorbed when what happens?
When the compound is formed, like
From what?
from hydrogen and chlorine,
Yeah,
sulfur.
from its elements.
So from the constituent elements in their
Yeah.
most stable states, in their most stable states, at what temperature and pressure? At 1 atm
1
pressure
atm.
and 298 Kelvin. If you have this and this in their most stable state, basically at this temperature and pressure, and then they react to give HCl gas, right?
Yeah.
The amount of energy here, they will give 2 HCl, right? The
Yeah.
amount of energy released in this divided by 2 is the heat of formation of HCl, right?
Mm.
Divided
Yeah.
by 2 because 2 moles were formed, right?
Yeah.
So heat of formation is the amount of energy released when you form 1 mole of a compound from their constituent elements in their standard states, right?
Mm.
So you can sort of imagine that why is this relation going to be correct? Because if you think of formation of a compound, let's say Na, uh, wait, let me think. NaHCO3, suppose, right?
Mm.
Okay. NaHCO3 can be formed from the reaction of, say, NaOH plus H2O plus CO2, suppose,
Mhm.
gives NaHCO3. You can balance it all, but I don't care about the actual reaction. But let's say this reaction happened and you got NaHCO3, right?
Yeah.
So you can sort of imagine that NaHCO3 has some intrinsic energy. It is at some level, right?
Yeah.
Now, in this reaction, you are starting with NaOH plus H2O plus Cl2, right? This is at some level, right?
Yeah.
And this is what is the meaning of enthalpy of this reaction, right?
Hmm.
Right. This difference is called enthalpy, no?
Yeah. Yeah.
From the
Yeah.
reactants to the products. Now,
Mm.
now what the Cl2, not Cl2, CO2. So what we are saying right now is that instead of this, you could have started from sodium, right? Sodium, hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen, right?
Yeah.
You could have started from sodium, hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen, right? And
Mm.
then first formed this, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
And then formed this, no?
Yeah.
Correct? So,
Yeah.
so if you went from all the elements in their elemental state and then formed this is heat of formation of NaHCO3, no?
Yeah.
This gap, right?
Mm.
If you directly took the elements and formed this, that is called heat of formation of NaHCO3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you directly took the elements and formed NaOH, H2O, and CO2, right? It will be at some higher level, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. So that will be heat of formation of reactants, right?
Mm.
Correct.
Yes.
So the ultimate enthalpy should be heat of formation of this, which is negative, right?
Mm.
Minus heat of formation of this, because if you add it, it becomes a smaller difference. The difference in enthalpy is bigger actually, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to get this x value and this y value is there and this z value is there. The final x value is actually y plus z, no?
Yeah.
Right?
Mm.
So you have to say that enthalpy, total enthalpy of the reaction should be the heat released in this step and heat absorbed in this step, right? Addition, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Heat released in this step means it is going to come already, it will have a negative sign. And heat
Yeah.
absorbed in this step, you cannot add that heat, because if you add that heat, then negative and positive will get cancelled, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have to subtract it, no? If you subtract it, then the whole thing becomes negative, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So enthalpy of formation of products minus reactants.
Mm.
Formation of products minus enthalpy of formation of reactants. Correct?
Yeah.
Basically, you are saying that ultimately I'm saying I'm forming it from the elements, and that formation would have required some amount of energy, right? If
Yeah.
I form
Yeah.
it from here, the energy will be higher because this will be at a higher level,
Mm.
or it could be at a lower level also. That doesn't matter. It could these things could be at a lower level, right? It could be exothermic formation here, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So depending on which side it is, you'll still get this, no?
Mm.
Enthalpy of
Yeah.
formation of products minus reactants. I want the gap between this level and this level, right?
Yeah.
But I could have started from elements to go to this level and elements to go directly to this. And you can do it by subtraction of the two, right?
Yeah.
Is everyone clearly understanding what it means? Why this relationship
Yeah.
should be
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So that is that. And the other thing is enthalpy from bond dissociation energy. Bond dissociation energy of, so how do you do that? You say bonds broken minus bonds formed,
Yeah.
minus bonds formed. Now that is also fairly straightforward. You can say that suppose you have H2 plus Cl2 gives 2HCl, right?
Mm.
Suppose you have H2 plus Cl2 gives 2HCl, then uh, what happens is, in this reaction, the amount of heat released depends on what bonds are broken and what bonds are formed. This is a covalent bond, this is a covalent bond, and these bonds have to be broken. And what bonds have to be formed? HCl, right? Two of them, right?
Yeah.
So when this bond is broken, to break a bond, you need to supply energy to it, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to supply these energies, right?
Yeah.
The amount of energy required to break this bond and break this bond, right?
Yeah.
So that will be a positive
Positive.
contribution to the enthalpy, right? You have to supply it.
Yeah. Mm.
And then
Yeah.
energy will be given out. This will release
Right.
energy,
Yeah.
right? So
Mm.
if this is higher, then the overall reaction will release energy. If
Yeah.
this is lower, then the overall reaction will absorb energy,
Absorb. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you can
Yes.
just take the difference of these two energies, and that should be your amount of heat energy released or absorbed, right?
Yeah.
That will be your enthalpy, correct?
Mm.
Yeah.
So both of the approaches are correct, and they are trying to get at the same physical quantity. Uh, but there may be cases where only one of them is applicable and one of them is used, because actually heat of formation method may not work all the time, because you actually are not doing that, you're not doing it from elements, no. So
Yeah.
you are actually making it from something else, right?
Mm.
So heat of formation method may not always be exact. Similarly, bond dissociation energy, so it's not like always all the bonds here are broken, right? Maybe there is some other mechanism by which it is formed, right?
Yeah.
You don't really know until you know how it happens, whether this bond is completely broken or not, right?
Yeah.
You see complicated organic reactions, not all bonds are touched. There might be some reed distribution of bonds and all, but not
Mm.
everything happens as you would expect from the chemical equation, okay? So these are going to give you tentative or approximate answers only, and depending on the situation you will use either approach, okay?
Yeah.
So that is about this enthalpy. Have you seen the calorimetry sections and all? There was a
Yeah.
section where specific heats and calorimetry was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That section is basically telling you that if you want to measure the enthalpy, right?
Mm.
Measure the enthalpy, what you should do is do the reaction inside a vessel, which is called
Yeah.
a calorimeter.
Calculator.
And when suppose this reaction happens inside a calorimeter. Now, as a result of this, some delta H was released, right?
Yeah.
This released energy can do two things. This released energy can actually raise the temperature of the mixture,
Yeah.
and it can raise the temperature of this mixture, this calorimeter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Raise the temperature of reaction mixture plus raise the temperature of calorimeter of reaction mixture plus temperature of calorimeter goes up, right?
Yeah.
So both the things could happen. what else could have happened? If this much heat is released, it could have done some work also.
Work also. Yeah.
This is all internal energy change. These are all changes in internal energy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right now we are not talking about any work because you have closed the vessel.
Yeah.
It was a closed vessel, volume was constant, so no work will be done, right? Okay. So how do you measure it now? Now you can put a thermometer in as part of the instrument. There is a thermometer here which measures this temperature rise, right?
Yeah.
Once you have the measured temperature rise, you can say that specific heat of the reaction mixture could be something.
Yeah.
There will be a value for specific heat of the reaction mixture. So the heat absorbed by reaction mixture will be Q is equal to M into specific heat into delta T, right?
Yeah.
And heat absorbed by the calorimeter would be Q into C into delta T, where C is heat capacity of the calorimeter.
Calorimeter.
You don't need to do specific heat and all because mass of the calorimeter and heat capacity of the calorimeter might be known already.
Yeah.
So we just need to use that heat capacity multiplied by temperature change. So the total heat released is the addition of this and this, right?
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
the enthalpy of the reaction. Now, sometimes what can happen is that you did not take 1 mole amount of this and 1 mole amount of this and 1 mole amount of this. And also the reaction did not go to completion, right? You could have taken some arbitrary amount, X grams and all, right, of A.
Yeah.
Right? And did that reaction, right?
Yeah.
Now, what you will, if the total energy that came out was still some variable, right? The total energy that came out is some Q plus Q, right?
Yeah.
So that is some del H, right? This del H came out from X grams of A, right? So when you say the actual enthalpy, you will have to convert it back to moles and get the actual enthalpy per mole, right?
Yeah.
So don't just leave it here. This is for X gram the heat has come out, right? When you say
Yeah.
standard enthalpy, you also say 1 mole of A, how much heat came out, right?
Yeah.
This might not be same. So you have to multiply by that ratio, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So calorimetry is basically used in this context only. You can see the temperature rise, you can estimate the specific heat and heat capacity might be given. And then from there you can find out basically how much heat should be released in the reaction if it is carried out in the laboratory, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay. So that's about it. Is there any doubts in this till 11 and all, till this section? Any problems so far? Hess's law we have seen, no? Hess's law is basically if you want enthalpy of a final reaction, you can do part by part many reactions and add them up, right? And that will be the combined enthalpy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can also multiply it by factors, linear factors 1, 2 and all to get the correct reaction to cancel off and all, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You are basically trying to find some unknown enthalpy and you are given some data about some known reactions. Then all you have to do is to arrange, rearrange and multiply and add the known reactions to get the unknown reaction.
Yeah. We did
Right?
that.
And if you reverse a reaction, enthalpy becomes negative. You multiply by 2, it becomes doubled. So normal rules you can follow and try to figure out what is the enthalpy, right?
Yeah.
Now, that is Hess's law. It's basically a principle of conservation of energy only. Energy in a reaction will not be created or from nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so that is there. Now what we want to start is the idea of entropy, the next section. Entropy and free energy change. Okay, this is the last two ideas in the chapter. These are also the most important things almost. So you need to understand this very clearly. So for example, this topic, by the way, will also come in your thermodynamics. Okay, so when we do physics, no, when we will reach a
Yeah.
point when we do volume 2 HCV first chapter, first few chapters, right? In
Mm.
volume 2 HCV first few chapters there is thermodynamics. Okay, so
Yeah.
this all of these ideas will come back again in thermodynamics. It's the same thing. Okay,
Mhm.
you look at your
Okay.
Allen book, the chapter name will be thermodynamics and thermochemistry,
Okay.
right? Allen phase 3 book or something has this, right? Thermochemistry and all. You have got
Yeah.
your books, no?
Yeah, we got it.
Okay. So right now what you learn is going to be valid in physics as well, and in physics we'll learn it in a little more detail. For now, let's just try to understand the ideas of this entropy and free energy. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So, by the way, how did your test go?
It was good.
It was good, sir.
How much did you guys get?
Got 245.
Rishi,
Yeah.
Akhil,
I got 256.
256. Huh?
Yeah.
Great stuff. Bhavesh, how did you do?
I got 187.
187.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have also improved a little. You can get to 200 plus. Just keep working. Okay.
Yes, sir.
187 is not bad, by the way. 210 is the target. Okay.
Okay.
Don't lose hope or anything in the middle. You understand? It is as long as your marks are improving, it's fine. Okay. Next test is when?
I think
Next
from
test is
second.
2nd September.
2nd September.
That's advanced pattern.
It's only 186
Yeah.
marks.
2nd September advanced, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what is the syllabus? Tell me. Maths, physics, chemistry, approximately, even if you don't know exactly.
Maths, it's quadratics and trigonometry. I mean, quadratic and trigonometry. Physics, it's only NLM.
Physics, it's NLM.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Chemistry, I'm not sure. There's chemical bonding, but not the
Hmm.
whole chapter.
chemical
Yeah.
bonding is there, but not the whole thing.
I think one previous chapter.
Till
might not.
hybridization.
Yeah, till hybrid.
Okay. Okay. And so quadratic plus trigonometry is already done. So I hope you guys are you guys preparing for your trigonometry? Are you guys doing the exercises,
Yeah.
Allen book exercises?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should be doing the exercises right now only, so that it is finished well in advance, right?
Yeah.
There will be some
Yeah.
unit exercises, review exercises at the back of the book. Those also you should finish,
Yeah.
whatever it is, right? And try to solve the questions from the properties of triangle chapter, because that will revise everything. Like, don't do it just from the chapters that are coming. Also do the properties of triangle questions, so that it is revising the entire trigonometry.
Yeah.
And in Rahul has started work by energy. What is he doing right now? Physics.
We finished friction.
Friction. So
We finished friction. So NLM and friction and all is anyway done, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So okay. So this week you didn't have class, so he would have started new chapter, right?
He said he's starting next class. I think it's circular motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Circular motion
Yeah.
first, and after that there is work by energy.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So NLM and all is clear, no? Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of you are understanding, no?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pseudo force, all of that stuff, right?
Hmm.
In a non-inertial frame, you'll have to put a pseudo force and those
Yeah.
kinds of things.
Yeah.
Okay, so fine. Before the test, we'll do a little bit revision for chemical bonding. This is basically chemical bonding is chapter 6 plus chapter 7. Okay, what you
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you should be working on your chemical bonding. You can do the exercises right now and see if you're getting it, if what you're not getting. Make sure that you
Yeah.
are preparing ahead of time, so that you can do well in the test. Okay. And we'll do a little bit of revision, so don't worry about it. Yeah. And fine. Okay, so what I want to do is now entropy and free energy change. So entropy is a very mysterious idea, and I will just define it. The definition will not make a lot of sense unless you really get into it. So, definition: entropy measures the amount of disorder in a system. Disorder or chaos in a system. Now, this is something that is slightly weird, right?
Yeah.
Disorder in a system is not something that you have encountered before. So, but before we get to this, I want to ask you a question. Suppose this is a room, okay, and there is a partition here. This partition is movable, like you can remove it also, and you can
Yeah,
put it back
okay.
in place also, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
suppose you had gas which was filling one half of the room, and there was partition was on, right?
Okay.
There was a partition, and then if I remove the partition suddenly, right? Then what will happen? It will occupy the whole room, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gas will occupy the whole room on its own, right? You don't have to push it, right?
Yeah.
Do you have to do anything?
No, we don't.
No.
On its own, spontaneously, the gas will occupy the whole room, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
suppose you are sitting in your room right now, right? There's no partition in your room. You are sitting in your room. Gas is there, air is there throughout, right?
Yeah.
Why doesn't this happen, that on its own all the air moved to the left side of the room and you were left gasping for breath in this side? See, I'm saying the opposite of this doesn't happen ever.
No.
No.
For example, if I had a partition and there was vacuum on one side and I removed the partition, air on its own moved from that half to that half, no?
Yeah.
But the reverse never happens. Like, I have never been in a room where suddenly all the air went to one side,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Why does that not happen? This reverse process, right? Correct.
Yeah.
You understand that there is no change in energy in the system, okay? Like,
Yeah.
by energy, like there is nothing wrong due to energy, because the whole energy contained here is now distributed in this, right?
Yeah.
And no energy has been lost and all. And it's the same thing. The entire energy of all the molecules could come back here and it will be the same thing. But what I'm saying basically is that it's not because of energy that this does not happen. Like, energy is conserved in both the cases.
Yeah.
Energy is conserved in both the cases. I'll give you another example. So suppose there's a big stone here, okay, and it is on the ledge and it is sitting a little precariously. It can fall down if something happens or some slight wind blows and all. It can fall down, right?
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes naturally it will fall down, right? At some stage, because maybe a little rain fell and it fell down, right?
Yeah.
Correct. And when it
Yeah.
falls down from here to here, right? It fell down on its own. When it falls down from here to here, there was a big collision here. Some depression was formed, right? There was a huge. So basically, a depression was formed here means some work was done. Plus, noise was generated, sound energy, right?
Yeah.
Plus, surroundings became slightly warmer. Surroundings became slightly warmer because some heat was also generated in this collision, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
When things collide, some
Yeah.
heat is also generated, okay? So basically what happened was this whole potential energy, right, got converted into this depression, some sound energy and some heat energy, right?
Yeah.
Sound energy, heat energy, and some work was done.
Yeah.
Work was done in pushing the ground a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Work was done,
Yeah.
sound energy and heat energy. All of this happened because potential energy got converted into this, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
this happened on its own, spontaneously this happened, right?
Yes.
Now, what we don't ever see, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is a stone on the ground gathering up some sound energy and heat energy from the surroundings and flying up to the top of the building.
Yeah, yeah.
Like gathering up enough sound energy, heat energy, etc. from the surroundings, taking a little bit and then flying it, using that energy to convert and go up to the top of the building. This never happens, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that the same transformation of energy, one side is happening, the other side, why is it not happening? Right?
Yeah.
Like, is it what you should realize is that this is not because of energy, it was having less energy or something.
Yeah, yeah.
The question is not because of energy, because the same change has happened. I'm saying reverse change can also happen, right? But that doesn't ever happen. Not non-spontaneous. It doesn't happen on its own, never happens, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But why? That is the question. Okay. So I can give countless examples like this. Like a plant, from a seed, it becomes a plant, right?
Yeah.
Becomes a tree, right? In that process, it has been taking in nutrition and whatever energy from the surroundings, water and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Right? And it has become this thing, right? Why is the
Yeah.
reverse process not happening? A tree can start becoming a seed. It can give off the energy, right? You understand?
Yeah.
On its own, aging is happening, but why is someone not becoming like Benjamin Button? If you have seen that movie, the opposite, right? You can become younger. On its own, your processes start reversing and you start becoming a baby. So basically, the point is that in nature, most processes are irreversible, right? It's
Yeah.
not like there are two directions to it. It only goes in one direction.
Yeah.
Okay. It goes in one direction only. And technically, the laws of thermodynamics and by laws of physics, it should be both the directions should be allowed, because both directions
Yeah.
energy is conserved.
Yeah. Yeah.
Should be allowed, but only one direction is happening, right? So there is something that is missing. Okay. By energy conservation, both directions should be allowed, but something is missing. That something people figured out, and that something is called entropy. Okay. So we did not know about entropy before, and then people thought about this, why is only one direction happening, right? So people had to come up with a new concept of entropy, which reflects the amount of disorder or chaos in the system, or chaos in the system. Now, a normal question is, how can you measure something like disorder or chaos, right?
Yeah.
Like, even if you say there is something like entropy, eventually you'll have to measure it, right?
Yeah.
So we will come to that in a bit. But right now, just know that people figure out that there is something called entropy, which is important to figure out which direction will happen and which will not happen, right? And there is a second
Yeah.
law of thermodynamics. So the first law of thermodynamics is what we have been doing so far.
Yeah.
First law of thermodynamics is basically conservation of energy. Energy cannot be destroyed. Conservation of energy, and energy can be converted to one form and the other, right? From one form to another form, right? This is first
Yeah.
law of thermodynamics. Second law of thermodynamics was what was missing. That was the missing part of the puzzle. And because people did not know that, people did not know why two directions are not allowed. Second law of thermodynamics says that total entropy total entropy of the universe
Okay.
always increases.
Okay.
Okay, so basically it is saying that only those processes will happen which increase the disorder of the universe. Only those
Okay.
things can happen that increase the total disorder in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now
Okay.
we will try to understand this a little more detail. Total disorder or total entropy of the universe. Okay,
Hmm.
so what does it mean? So let's take an example. Let's take an example and figure it out. So okay, so let's say that um, there is a gas, right? It has many molecules, right?
Yeah.
It has many molecules. Now let's say the speeds of the molecules can be from 1 to 500. Okay,
Yeah.
and it can be integer values only. Like we are putting arbitrary restrictions, but let's say the speed
Yeah.
can be 1 to 500, 500 different values, right?
Hmm.
Okay, so if the speeds can be like this, then how many ways can you set up a box where, say, suppose there are 6 into 10 to the power 23 molecules, right?
Yeah.
6 into 10 to the power 23 molecules in this box. Basically 1 mole of gas is there, right?
Yeah.
In how many different ways can you assign values of speed to all of these molecules, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you assign values of speed, right,
Yeah.
to all of these molecules, right?
Hmm.
You understand what I'm asking? I'm asking if you start making a list, right, of all the
Yeah.
6 into 10 to the power 23 molecules, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm making a list. This is going on for a long time. And I start putting values. The first one has 2 meter per second. Second one has 3. Third one has 20, 15, and so on, right?
Yeah.
You start assigning values, right, of the
Hmm.
speeds to all the molecules, right? Then
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
such assignment is one state of a system, right? One state of the system.
Yeah.
Basically, you are saying in this current state, these are the values, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
In a slightly different current state, maybe everything is same and except 2, it is now 1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
different.
That's a
Yeah.
different state, okay?
Hmm.
Basically, the state of a system is going to be captured by the values of speeds of all the molecules, right?
Yeah.
So this is one state of the system. Then another state could be slightly different, and slightly different, and so on, right?
Yeah.
Correct. So
Yeah.
basically what we are asking is how many possible states are there in which the system can exist, okay?
Hmm.
So the first molecule can take how many options of speeds? 500, no?
500.
The second molecule can take how many options? 500, right? Again 500, no?
Yeah.
Second can also have 500 speeds, no?
Yeah.
There is no relation between first speeds and second speed, right? It's like
Hmm.
everyone can take any value, right?
Yeah.
So you have to keep multiplying 500 choices for each molecule, no?
Yeah. Till
Right?
6 into
So basically the number of ways the system can exist is 500 to the power 6 into the power
6 into
23,
10.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the number of ways, right, in which system can exist, correct?
Hmm.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now imagine a slightly different situation. So we'll just note it down here. In this system, when velocities could be from 1 to 500, the number of ways came out to be 500 to the power 6 to the power 23 ways, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
These are the number of ways in which you could set the system, right?
Yeah.
Now suppose that same gas was solidified into a solid, right?
Mm-hmm.
At a lower temperature, it has been made into a solid, right?
Yeah.
Now you can obviously realize that now the set of speeds are much lesser, right?
Yeah.
Solid molecules can't move much, right?
Hmm.
They can only vibrate a little bit. They're not free like this, right?
Yeah.
If they are free, then they would have been in solids in a gaseous state.
Hmm.
Is everyone understanding?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now the set of speeds are only very limited, 0, 1, or 2, suppose.
Okay.
This is an arbitrary example, by the way, right? I'm just
Yeah.
making it up so that you can understand the idea.
Hmm.
This is not some real example. Now the speeds can only be either they will be stationary or 1 and 2 are the other possible speeds, tiny
Yeah.
speeds, right?
Yeah.
Correct. So now each molecule has only 3 choices, right?
Yeah. So 3 to the
3
power.
into 3 into so on. So 3 into 3 to the power 6 into 10 to the power 23, right?
Yeah.
Ways in which the system can be now, right?
Yeah.
Correct. So now notice that in this situation, the number of ways in which the system could exist was much higher, right?
Yeah.
And in this, the number of ways is much smaller than that, right?
Hmm.
Suppose you had only one value, right? Possible, right?
Okay.
Mm.
Suppose only one speed was allowed, and that was 0, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a solid state, suppose at no particle could move, right? That was the situation, right? Then the
Yeah.
system can only be in one state, no, 1 into 1 into so on, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there
Yeah.
is only one way, no.
Hmm.
So the minimum possible ways is one way. Maximum possible way is something more than this is also possible, but this is one of the large possible ways, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, entropy measures the amount of disorder. Amount of disorder means how much chaos is there or how much lack of rules are there, right?
Yeah.
So this is so many possible ways. This means large entropy. So
Okay.
large disorder,
Yeah.
because the system can be in any possible state, no, like it's completely free, it has so many options, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That is a
Yeah.
chaotic system, that is a disordered system, and this is a ordered system. It has only one or two, three possibilities for each speed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has a much fewer number of states, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Correct. So this is a low entropy situation, low entropy, right? So entropy, the Boltzmann discovered this. Boltzmann figured out that entropy can be measured like this. S is equal to K ln W. Now ln is a natural logarithm, okay? And
Yeah.
K is a constant of nature. K is called Boltzmann constant, which value is 1.38 into 10 to the power minus 23, okay?
Yeah.
And ln W. W is the number of ways in which the system can be obtained. Number
Okay.
of ways in which system can exist, okay? So
Okay.
that is why you are calculating that number of ways, okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
So here we had calculated this many ways system could exist, no?
Yeah.
If I do the calculation, it becomes K ln 500 to the power 6 into 10 power 23, right? So it becomes 6
Yeah.
into 10 power 23 K ln 500, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
Correct. And here it becomes 6 into 10 power 23 K ln 3, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Here.
Yeah.
So clearly this entropy is coming lower than this entropy.
Mm.
Yeah.
Correct. And this 10 power minus 23 cancels this factor when you multiply, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
get a value for entropy, right? Now
Yeah.
think of what happens when there was only one way, right? ln1 becomes 0. No?
Mm.
Yeah.
So entropy is 0 at when there is only one way the system
One
can
way.
exist, right?
Yeah.
It's perfectly
Yeah.
ordered state, that is. That has no disorder only, no two ways only one way, right?
Yeah.
That will mean that entropy is 0. Okay.
Okay.
So this situation happens at absolute 0. When you are at minus 273 degrees centigrade, no?
Yeah.
Basically at 0 Kelvin, right? Then the particles of the solid or liquid or whatever, right? They don't have any energy. They cannot vibrate also. They are frozen.
Okay.
They're not moving around at all. So that is the zero entropy situation. The system can only exist in one state right then.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
basically what we are understanding is entropy is a measure of amount of disorder in a system. And how do you measure disorder? By doing this calculation of K into ln W, where W is the number of ways in which the system can exist, right? You will
Yeah.
not be asked to do
Yeah.
that calculation very often. This is not something that you will need to do a lot. I'm just telling you so that you understand how to measure something like entropy, right? So there is a way to measure. So basically, if I say a system, my system has energy E naught, right? Now, basically, if I want to find entropy, I have to find how many ways can the system exist with total energy E naught, right?
Yeah.
It could exist, suppose there are 4 particles, right? It could exist in with total energy 100 joules, with this particle having 100 joules and all others having 0, right? One particle is moving and all others are stationary. It could exist with this particle having 25, 25, 25, 25, or an infinite other cases, no? You
Yeah.
understand? This is one arrangement. This is one arrangement. This
Yeah.
could be another arrangement, 50, 20, 30, 0, right?
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the state of the system is defined by total energy, and then these are all different micro states in which the system can exist, right?
Yeah.
These
Yeah.
are different types of, these are called the ways in which system can exist, right? So if you count the number of ways possible, right, that tells you the entropy of the system.
Okay.
Like if the number of ways possible is very high, then S is equal to K ln W will be high,
Yeah.
right? W is the
Yeah.
number of
Yeah.
ways possible, right?
Yeah.
If it can only exist in one way, then S will be K ln 1,
Zero.
which is 0,
Yeah.
right? If it
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
exist in small number of ways, entropy will be small, right? So now you sort of know what entropy is and how it is measured, okay?
Yeah.
So then let's think about the second law of thermodynamics a little more. Second law says that there is a system and there is the surroundings, right?
Yeah.
So only those changes will happen. Only those changes will happen for which total entropy of the universe should increase. Total entropy of universe, right? Total entropy of universe should increase. That means total entropy of universe, the change in total entropy will be change in entropy of system plus change in entropy of surroundings, no?
Yeah.
That is the total universe, right?
Yeah.
So you have to make the total change positive, right? You have to make this positive, no? Del
Yeah.
S universe is
Yeah.
always positive, right? This is the second law of thermodynamics. That doesn't mean that this has to be positive and this has to be positive, right?
Yeah.
It could also mean that this is negative, but this is more positive. Or this
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
positive and this is less negative, right?
Yeah.
Correct. So
Mm.
do not confuse it with the understanding that entropy always increases. No, sometimes it can look like entropy is decreasing, but in the process, it should increase the entropy of the surroundings by more.
Yeah.
You understand?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could happen that your system looks like it is losing entropy. Entropy is decreasing. Entropy is decreasing means it is becoming more ordered.
Yeah.
Okay. But it will never be that will happen in isolation. It cannot happen in isolation.
Yeah.
Like it will happen. It could happen that your entropy decreased, but as a byproduct, you increase the entropy of the surroundings by much more. Okay. That always has to happen.
Yeah.
in isolation, if you isolate your system from the surroundings, then your entropy can also never decrease.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So this could be negative and this could be greater positive. That is possible. The whole universe's entropy must increase is second law.
Mm.
Okay. So for
Yeah.
example,
Yeah.
a good example for this is life. If you think about life, right? Some cells, right? Like
Mm.
life is there, like you are alive right now because your entropy is decreasing. Your entropy has decreased,
Yeah.
right? If you take the same amount
Yeah.
of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen atoms, right,
Yeah.
that make up a human being, right,
Mm.
that make up a human, right, and
Yeah.
you take the same amounts and mix them together and let them exist randomly, right, that doesn't become alive, no,
Yeah. Yeah.
that is not alive, right? So
Yeah.
you are alive, that means lots of atoms and molecules are behaving in very ordered and by so many rules, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they are existing in a very system which works flawlessly and which together, right? Like
Yeah.
it cannot be arbitrarily carbon hydrogen is doing whatever it wants, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be a disordered state, right?
Mm.
So basically when death happens, it becomes disordered, right?
Yeah.
You
Oh,
understand,
yeah.
everything
Yeah.
decomposes and it becomes the constituent elements, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is called entropy has increased now, right?
Mm. Yeah.
Correct. So the best example of a system's entropy decreasing and still the process happening on its own, right, is life
Yeah.
only. So you are alive and you are existing, that means somehow you are managing to stay in this highly ordered state, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as a result of your existence, lot of entropy has been increased in the universe.
Mm.
Only then that process happens on its own. Okay,
Yeah.
like otherwise it will not be possible. Otherwise it will seem as unbelievable or as impossible as a stone gathering up enough energy and flying up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems an unbelievable process, no?
Mm. Yeah.
Life is also similarly unbelievable, but the reason it is happening is because it is giving up enough entropy into the universe.
Yeah.
You understand, life is also decreasing its own entropy. The alive body is more ordered than anything dead with the same
Mm.
constituents, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is also the same thing. Entropy is, so this is an example for delta S system is decreasing, negative,
Yeah.
but delta S surroundings is more,
More part.
right? So
Yeah.
delta S
Yeah.
total has increased. Okay,
Mm.
so you can think of many ways in which humans destroy the surroundings and cause a lot of entropy in the surroundings. Like humans
Yeah.
existence has been bad for the surroundings in the sense that disorder is increasing.
Mm. Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so second law of thermodynamics is always true, and people have done calculations. Actually, second law is not a law like math, not an abstract mathematical relation. It
Mm.
is a probabilistic law.
Yeah.
Probabilistic law in the sense that uh, like it's not like 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. Okay,
Yeah.
2 plus 2 is equal to 4 for all time, eternity, that can never change. Okay, that is a mathematical truth, right? Now
Yeah.
second
Yeah.
law is saying that delta S universe is always positive for everything, right?
Yeah.
Now that is not a mathematical truth, that is a probabilistic truth in the sense that uh, actually it is not impossible. It is not impossible, but so far we have not seen it. Okay,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like for example, the example that I gave you, right? That all the
Mm.
molecules move to one side, right?
Yeah.
All the molecules move to one side of the room on their own, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, that is a process that should not happen on its own, right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that it is banned outright. It doesn't mean that it is going to be impossible. Okay, it is possible, but people have done the calculation, okay, that the number of states, the entropy that happens here, the entropy is lower here, right?
Yeah.
The
Mm.
probability of this happening is so low. Probability of this happening is so low that you will have to wait so low that if you waited for this to happen on its own, no, you will have to wait for more than the age of the universe.
Okay.
You understand? Like, in the sense
Yeah.
that it will never happen is in the sense that it is so improbable that you will have to wait forever for
Yeah.
it to happen on its own. Okay, so it's
Okay.
improbable. It's a probabilistic law in that sense. Any process that decreases the entropy of the universe is very improbable, so improbable that it will might as well never happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is entropy. So entropy is basically giving a direction to events, like what will happen and what will not happen, right?
Yeah.
And entropy is saying that the processes that are likely to happen are those that increase entropy, right? Those
Yeah.
are the
Yeah.
likely processes that will happen, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now you have two things that you can understand together: enthalpy and entropy, right? Now,
Yeah.
so we will classify spontaneous processes and non-spontaneous processes using this. So non-spontaneous processes. So think about uh, what favors what, right? So in a spontaneous process, enthalpy should be positive or negative. What do you expect? Common sense. On its own, the process is happening, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Enthalpy should be positive or negative.
Negative.
Negative, because if it was an endothermic process and on its own, how can it happen, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You have to give it some energy, right?
Hmm.
It is likely that the process enthalpy is negative. It's an exothermic process, right?
Yeah.
And on its own, if it's a spontaneous process, entropy is positive
Yeah.
by second law. This is first law and this is second law, right?
Yeah.
And similarly, non-spontaneous process on its own, enthalpy should be positive, endothermic
Yeah.
it should be, and this should be negative, right? Entropy should be negative for a non-spontaneous process, right?
Yeah.
So you can realize that these factors are sort of opposing each other, no? Like, in the sense that if you take a spontaneous process, right, it is likely to be having exothermic process. No, it has to be exothermic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or a better example is, suppose you absorb some heat, right?
Yeah.
You absorb heat. Okay. If you absorb heat, your enthalpy is basically positive, right? You are an endothermic, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But as a result of your absorption of heat, entropy for you should be increasing, no?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
absorb heat, then your molecules will start moving more randomly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you absorb heat and your entropy increases, right?
Yeah.
So this is endothermic goes together with increase in entropy, no?
Yeah.
Increase in entropy, right? So
Yeah.
so they are opposite of each other, no? Increase in entropy and endothermic, right? These are together, no?
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Gibbs figured out that there is something called Gibbs free energy. He made a new variable, Gibbs free energy, delta G, which is equal to delta H minus T delta S. Okay.
Okay.
Delta G is defined as delta H minus T delta S. T is the temperature. And this quantity was able to predict whether a reaction will happen spontaneously or not. Because you notice now that the two factors are opposing, no?
Yeah.
Enthalpy and entropy are opposing factors, because endothermic reaction goes with positive, right?
Yeah.
And endothermic is non-spontaneous, and in this is spontaneous, right?
Yeah.
So to decide spontaneous, you need to have a relationship between enthalpy change and entropy change, right? And decide
Yeah.
which factor dominates, right, in a particular situation, right? It could be that you have a high value of endothermic reaction, but so much entropy is being created that it still becomes spontaneous, right?
Yeah.
You understand? So
Yeah.
the rule is that delta G is defined as delta H minus T delta S, and these are the rules. Delta G is less than 0 means process is spontaneous. Okay. And if delta G is greater than 0, process is non-spontaneous. Non-spontaneous, right? Doesn't happen on its own.
Yeah.
And if delta G is equal to 0, that means process is at equilibrium. Equilibrium means both forward and backward reactions are happening at the same rate.
Yeah.
Equilibrium means rate of forward reaction is equal to rate of backward reaction.
Yeah.
That means both the things are happening at the same rate. So reaction is not happening in any direction on a net basis, right?
Yeah.
There is no net reaction. That is a dynamic equilibrium. So what he figured out was delta G is less than 0 for spontaneous process, greater than 0 for non-spontaneous process, right? So,
Yeah.
so delta H minus T delta S, you have to make it negative for the process to be spontaneous, right?
Yeah.
If this part is endothermic, if it is positive, then your entropy should be higher than some value. Only then will the process happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Total delta G should become negative, no? So your delta
Yeah.
S should be higher, so more positive than a certain value, right?
Yeah. Yes.
This also explains why some reactions don't happen at room temperature, but later they will happen.
Okay.
This doesn't happen normally. At room temperature, if you blast chlorine over this, no, this doesn't happen much, right? But at some higher temperature, it will happen.
Yeah.
Because at some temperature T, this process will be not favorable because delta G will be greater than 0, right?
Yeah.
But at some different temperature, it could become favorable, right?
Yes.
You understand when you change the temperature, no?
Yeah.
So sometimes some reactions don't happen at room temperature, but if you increase temperature slightly, it will happen immediately.
Yeah.
Right? So there are three things basically that determine all of this: enthalpy, entropy, and temperature, right? And this value, as soon as it becomes less than 0, then the process becomes spontaneous. On its own, it will happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can also find the temperature at which a process starts becoming spontaneous. You can just do this equal to 0. So temperature is delta H by delta S, right?
Yeah.
This is the required temperature at which things will become spontaneous, right?
Yeah.
Are you understanding what is happening?
Yes. Yeah.
So basically, the way to decide whether something will happen on its own or not involves two things. It will involve enthalpy and entropy and temperature, right? Just enthalpy is not sufficient. Just entropy is also not sufficient to say whether something will happen or not. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Apart from this, there is nothing much to the chapter. So what you should do is now do the exercises. Every question in this book, do it as well as possible in as much detail. Like every question you should do. Okay.
Yeah.
Every even numbered question. And if you have any doubts, you can ask me. I don't think you'll have any doubts. We have discussed it in detail. So hopefully you will understand everything and you can solve questions on your own. Just try the exercises once. Next week also we'll continue with this only. We'll do some more problems. We'll discuss the doubts from this chapter and we'll do more problems that I will send. So what I
Okay.
can do is I can share the motion sheet with you guys, motion chemistry sheets for this. Okay, one
Okay.
second.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
there are chemistry sheets. See, in chemistry books and all, no, there will be a thermodynamics topic also. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't want you to worry about the thermodynamic topics. That will actually be done in physics. Okay,
Mm.
so that should not be done in chemistry. Like, it's not a chemistry topic, this thermodynamics. Okay, so there are
Yeah.
some things that will be there in the Allen booklet which will be thermodynamics topics. Okay,
Okay.
so don't get worried by that. What you need to make sure is the thermochemistry part is clear for you.
Yeah.
Thermochemistry part is the enthalpy and all what we have been doing. What is there in
Yeah.
McMurray? Okay.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
for example, in motion book, there are two separate chapters. There's one which is thermodynamics and one which is thermochemistry. So I'm sending you the
Okay.
thermochemistry sheets.
Mm.
What you should do is go to the sheet, do the theory, see the examples, make sure that you are understanding,
Yeah.
and just practice over the next week or so. Whatever is there in this sheet. Exercise 1 you can see, theory you can see. Make sure that
Okay.
you are understanding as much as possible, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the exercises in McMurray also. Okay,
Yes.
that should be enough for this chapter. Just go through it once. I've shared the sheet just now. Okay,
Okay.
Okay.
that should be it for now. Sure that you collect your doubts and ask me in the next class. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it for now then.
And the next chapter will be.
Next chapter will be, we'll go in the same sequence as McMurray. So we'll do gaseous state. Gaseous
Okay.
state, then there will be solids, liquids, and phase changes, chapter 10.
Mhm.
Solids, liquids, phase change. Then there will be solutions and their properties, solutions. Then chemical kinetics. Then equilibrium, chemical equilibrium. And then ionic equilibrium. These are the chapters that we want to do. After that, we'll start organic.
Okay.
These 6 chapters we have to do
Yeah.
before we start organic. So
Mm.
most of these chapters are quite easy. So I'm anticipating 2-3 weeks here, 2-3 weeks here, 2-3 weeks here. So in 2 to 3 months, we should be done with all of it.
Okay.
Okay. So in
Yeah.
1 month, at least 2 chapters, so we'll definitely finish. 2 chapters definitely finish. 3 months maybe it will take.
Yeah.
So right now is August. So August is going on. So September, October, November. By sometime in November, we'll be done with physical, mostly.
Yeah. Okay.
After this, only 1 or 2 chapters will be left in physical chemistry. We'll start organic after that.
Okay.
After physical chemistry, we'll start organic chemistry, and that will go on for 4-5 months.
Okay.
Okay.
So then we will be on our way to finishing the syllabus. This is like 33%. So this is the 33% that we are doing right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. That's it for today then.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye, sir.
Bye, sir.
That's all.